this ain't no Maui miracle. Hey, now here we go. I needed more water than a buffalo. We already know this ain't no Maui miracle.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to talk about the fire. We're also going to talk about some very crazy DARPA projects that are going on. In fact, we'll talk about the fire here in just a minute. In fact, I wanted to talk about the fire specifically for some of the good news that happened there. Every once in a while, we would like to talk about some of the kind of miracles out there. And again, we'll cover that in just a second. What you're seeing on the screen right there is actually over on Derek's Twitter. It was a gentleman who essentially said he had to kick in a door of a business to run through to get away from it. I've been hearing from a lot of folks from Hawaii. We have a lot of viewers in Maui. And I see that everybody that doesn't live there has a theory, and then people that do live there have their own theory. Most people that live there, to be honest, say that they believe it was it was something that was expected. But it is crazy when you see the actual images of it. Whatever you believe, that's up to you. But we will talk about DARPA and some of the things here. Before we get started, remember you can always find a full source list and a full bibliography over on marfooglenews.com. You can find, of course, every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we have here. All you have to do is look for today's thumbnail. When you go there, you'll see Church Untouched, Maui Miracle, What's DARPA Doing? And then click on that. You will find a full bibliography of every single source. Not only do we have that, if we do attach tweets or anything like that, that will also be there. There will be sources for videos, whatever we may show you. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, first of all, Dex, I'll actually let you go into the 05 Project Capture, capturing aerial payloads to unleash reliable exploitation. This is pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, this is really crazy. So what is happening, if you guys all remember the balloon saga, apparently DARPA is coming out with a request, and they're looking for a project to capture aerial payloads. And not only that, they want to be able to exploit whatever's on that payload. So they don't just want to bring it down. They need to be able to bring it down very gracefully, so to speak, in a way that you can preserve what may be on it, but also do it in a way that doesn't harm anybody down below. Presumably capturing it before it gets over mainland, or what other solution they can come up with. So they're putting this out there. They're looking for anybody that can create something that will go up to 75,000 feet is their objective. But the operation should be 60,000 feet. If you recall, I believe the F-22s were the ones that were first scrambled when this happened, because they're the only ones that can go at an altitude above 50,000 feet, at least as far as they've told us publicly. But that's what's going on in this particular case. They want the solution. It needs to, range between 500 pounds and 1,500 pounds. They don't want it to be very heavy. It can obviously be in various different shapes and sizes. As I said earlier, 60,000 to 75,000 feet. It's got to capture the aerial system of interest. And it should be in a manner for allowing a controlled descent for recovery near inhabited or otherwise currently avoided recovery areas. So really interesting project, I guess, coming out of DARPA, given the balloon situation. And we got another one we'll talk about in a moment too. But this one was just came out recently in the last day or two. They put it out, they published it. So this is the early phase when they ask for people to submit ideas or submit solutions, and then later you'll end up seeing how a contract can be awarded for that.
And you can see patterns, and we always keep track of all of the kind of DARPA, the Raytheon, which we'll talk about here in a second. What we Northrop Grumman. There's a whole list of companies, including some of the names that you guys would not know, doing all of the microwave stuff, all of these patents that are going in, the amphibious vehicles contracts. If you look back through our show, we actually predicted a lot of things, not by, a crystal ball, but looking at the contracts, looking at the patents. A good example of that is before it ever happened, we looked at facial recognition in the patents for these Ring doorbell cameras and other doorbell systems. It's like you can see the patents being filed, and you know that this stuff is coming. There's a few that get filed that, are just for, super future safe, but most of these things are getting implemented, and it depends on really what the company is. If you see Microsoft patent something, they're most likely going to utilize it. If you see Ring, patent something in their thing, they're going to put this stuff into their products. So you can see that this stuff is coming down the line. That's what kind of freaks us out, is about, where it's going, not exactly where it is right now, but where it is happening. This, I can imagine, like 50,000 feet up in the air, launching a net that's also attached to some sort of parachute or something. Also, it makes you question, we don't know what the truth is behind the balloon. Many people feel it was a distraction. I do feel that the 10 other, 20 other, 30 other objects after that were a distraction, and then they said they were UFOs, and it was definitely a circus then. But I do hold that kind of door open that first balloon was something spying on us, and they totally screwed up with it, or they didn't know how to handle it. They didn't have the ability to handle it, and maybe China knew that. Maybe China knew that they don't have a tool to actually grab this, not without, causing some sort of big debacle. If they shoot it down, it does this, whatever. Or somebody was being paid off to be like, oh, no, let's let it go over the whole country first, just for, to be safe. Meanwhile, it went over basically all of the military bases in its path. In fact, when it went over the one base with nuclear-related vehicles and submarines and everything else, they actually moved all of those boats, and they said it was, and I believe, they said it was for seismic reasons. They said that there was a concern about possible seismic activity, so they ended up moving those things. But they moved them for like 4 days or temporarily, whatever it was, and it was around the same time. This was, again, days before we even found out about the balloon, when this balloon would have been over this base over in Washington. So I really do wonder if they're now trying to grab those and capture them. Also, here's a thought. Remember how I suggested that possibly they could be making thousands of these things? Think about that. Dex, do you remember how I said, what if so there was a thought, and there was rumors that they were mass producing these, and they had a factory that could make thousands of them. And if these were floating over, they could drop all sorts of things on us, right? Do you remember I said?
Yes.
And think about this. They don't have a system to take them down or take them down properly. What if they are actually trying to do that because that's part of, something to come? That was my thought. And then Raytheon Company. I'll just read this real quick. Raytheon Intelligence and Space, McKinney, Texas, has been awarded almost a $10 million cost plus fixed fee contract for the Persistent Optical Wireless Energy Relay, aka POWER program. Work will be performed at El Segundo, California, 75% of it, Kent, Washington, 5% of it over here in Washington, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Mojave, California, with an expected completion date of May 13, 2025. Fiscal 2023 advanced research funds in the amount of $700,000 are being obligated at the time of this award. This contract was a competitive acquisition in accordance with the original broad agency announcement, the Defense Advanced Research Projects. So what this says is they've already allocated money to start it up, and they are trying to finish it in about a year and a half or less. And what power is literally beaming power. And I'm sure that there's going to be some pretty big questions about whether, how safe is this? They're literally transmitting power through wireless means. It says power aims to create revolutionary power distribution network. Again, it says DARPA is working on the next leap forward in energy distribution by leveraging wireless power beaming to create a dynamic, adaptive, speed of light wireless energy web. The goal of the Persistent Optical Wireless Energy Relay, which is actually one of the best, not anagrams, one of the best kind of ones they've ever done. Program is to design and demonstrate airborne optical energy relays. These relays are a critical component necessary to allow ground-sourced lasers to be coupled with high-altitude, efficient, long-range transmission. Additionally, such relays will enable future multi-path wireless energy networks. It says this is the Internet for Energy, harnessing resilient multi-path networks to flow energy from abundant sources of energy-starved consumers. Again, it says that the military faces particular acute energy challenges, which are driving this innovation. We must also operate far from established energy infrastructure and rely on liquid fuels that require precarious supply lines. So they're being pretty straight up about this. They are doing this because they are going to be fighting. This is going to be with the military, right? The military is going to be somewhere where they will have to depend on fuel and gas for generators. Instead, they will be able to beam power down and be able to power remotely these places. This sounds to me like they're getting prepared for a war where they're going to be fighting all over the place and they're going to be able to beam power wherever they want. What's even crazier is to even think that this is a thing. We have covered all the patents. We've covered all of the different things over the years. And if you watch our normal show, you'll be caught up on this. This is something that we talked about years ago when they talked about even beaming power from space, power from here, power from there. And it goes kind of hand in hand with how they're going to be trying to move things around the planet in 30 minutes or less. So they're obviously preparing for something. That's what I think. This is again the military driving this. This isn't so they can power a neighborhood out in the mountains in the sticks so people can have power that don't have access right now. This isn't for community service or something. This is military driven. Dex, could you think of some ways that this could literally be used? I mean, they could power a base anywhere.
Exactly. And we've talked even about how they were talking about beaming power from space that's captured up there, or in reverse, beaming power up to space. I think one of the things that they're going to need is a lot of devices it could just fast forward, start thinking about electric drones. And if you could beam power to them, you could keep them in flight indefinitely. Something along those lines would be very beneficial to them. Just real quick, it says in here he says it may sound exotic, but it's really simple. You just need a power source. You convert that power to a propagating wave, technically electromagnetic. You send it through free space. You collect it in through an aperture and then convert it back to electricity. So they're basically talking about electromagnetic waves that they're using to take the power, convert it to that, beam it to a location, and then reclaim it, capture it, and convert it back. Of course, when they have to hop from multiple destinations, that's their biggest challenge because there's efficiency loss in the conversions, but that's what they're it's part of what they want this system to resolve.
And this is why a lot of those different patents over the last couple of years that we've covered all kind of fit in, and now the puzzle pieces are now fitting right where they should be. They're going to have, and here's the other thing. This could be an excuse. If you look what they have in this image, kind of showing you what this would be, those look a whole lot like Predator drones. Well, what if they need to use that in the U.S.? What if they justify having Predator drones over the U.S. for power needs, right? But otherwise, if this is overseas, that would be useful in, say, I don't know, World War III, in places that don't have power. And that they're also kind of hinting towards something else, that we may have issues with gas, with fuels, if fuel lines or supply lines are attacked. That's why when you fit in the part where they're saying that it may be precarious, they're talking about somewhere where not only would we have our supply lines cut, but we would need to be out in an area where we're fighting. The military will be fighting and even, preparing for the contingency of something happening. This is why they're drilling to land airplanes, all kinds of airplanes, cargo planes, Hercules, C-130s, A-10 Warthogs, which are usually on the front line. They're landing F-35s and Ospreys and helicopters on U.S. highways, and that is in the contingency that if our airfields all got hit all at once. Not to mention what we talked about for the last couple weeks now about how they have basically found a lot of very suspicious people coming in from the south of our country, and they're all a certain aged, and they're all from a certain country, and they're all, basically slicing a certain animal and drinking its blood. So yeah, we might have some things coming our way. So again, we have that geographical safety that everybody loves. I don't think we're as safe as we think. So especially if the enemies have stuff like this as well. Who knows? Those balloons could be doing something like this. All right, and then thank you, everybody. Kathleen McCarthy has engineered. Mike Werner. Hola, amigos. Fugel Familia. They are making them cops. Ancient Earth Reality Watchers. Baron Saturday. Craig Hopkins. Don't want to be here if that door of grace shuts by our Lord. Craig Hopkins. I don't either. Garrett, Breaking News and Prophecy. Hey, nice to see you. Looks like you may have a channel. I'll have to check that out. And what a great channel name. All right, and let's so first of all, I'm gonna play a couple seconds of this here. This is kind of a crazy story, speaking about how this fire was, and we have heard from many locals at this point. We have a lot of people from Maui, from Kathy Payana in chat. In fact, there were a few people that were actually pretty vocal last night. A lot of people from all over the world are saying, hey, this looks like this looks like that. I don't live in Maui, so I don't claim to know. But I have talked to not only somebody in my extended family that does live there, and I guess they did get a lot of warnings. Like, they knew that this may be coming for like 2 weeks. So this was something that was pretty horrible. But what this gentleman saw was actual tornadoes of fire. Not only that, he essentially said that the sea was on fire. So let me play just a second of this real quick.
It was a firestorm.
I know what.
There was tornadoes of ash the size of charcoal from a barbecue, like being thrown by baseball players.
Now, I don't know if you heard that part, but like baseballs being thrown, charred ash balls basically being flown over.
I'm ducking behind walls. I had to kick in the door at Bubba Gumps.
Now, Bubba Gumps, if you're not familiar, is I believe a pretty hot. It's kind of a hotspot tourist spot. I was told by somebody that it's kind of like a hole in the wall place, but I was told by another that it's like a tourist restaurant.
To get out of
You
it,
guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I've never been to this Lahaina Front Street.
because I was getting pounded.
Yeah.
And then Bubba Gump started on fire, and I'm running down Front Street, and the wall, there's like 80 people, and the ocean was on fire.
Now, there's some tags on here. We'll link this video over on marfooglenews.com so you can get to this video, and then the tags on there. I don't know who the original. It goes from 3 different sources there, but it is pretty crazy how he talks about the sea.
It was on fire, and was all the ambers. So the tide line was on fire, and I had to jump through the water
I don't know what I'm
and come up through the fire, and 80 people, they were on the wall. Everybody started jumping in. Coast Guard was out there. It was all the ambers. It causes a seal. Fighter told me because the first layer of ash causes a seal. And then the next layer of ash was all the ambers. So the tide line was on fire, and I had to jump through the water.
So this gentleman describes essentially the ash and then the embers made a layer on the sea. So if you could imagine, most people kind of envisioned that when the fire's coming at you, oh, just jump in the water, swim out to safety. Well, apparently the ash and ember made a layer over the water. So if you did jump into the water, you would be jumping into literal fire. Now, I guess my first thought, I was thinking, if this was me, I guess I would splash the ember or whatever was on top of it away. But it would still be scary to literally jump into fire. And then when you come back up, you might be covered in flaming embers and ash. I don't know how difficult this was, but it's pretty crazy to even think about. And we know that people actually perished and were trapped by this thing. Another thing I do want to say, the locals may not believe that this may have been something suspicious, but they do think it's suspicious. I've heard from Justin True and others that say that the number is way, way higher than what they're saying. And I don't know what the motivation would be to say that the perished numbers were much, much lower than they are. But people are saying, and by the way, this is the same thing everybody else is hearing from locals. In fact, I think in his post he even says it here that 400 to 500 perished, and some have said more than 1,000. I have heard that exact same thing. Justin True will tell you in the chat that he believes that there's some reason why it's being said like that. Lahaina is just absolutely nuts. Now, different crazy things there, whatever you may believe it is. Either way, this fire was absolutely nuts. Dex, go ahead.
Well, with their communications being down, with their coordination and all the efforts that they were trying to do, it's my suspicion that they've only released the numbers that they've truly confirmed, but they've been reporting that there's potentially thousands that are still unaccounted for, that they haven't even figured out how to account for, with all of the tourists that may have been there. And, of course they left, or presumably they may have left, but they don't know. So that's what they're trying to figure out. And I think, in other words, we're going to hear this number grow, in my opinion, in the coming days, as they actually get, some services and stuff around it, they can figure out what really is happening.
And I hope that people are super, I hope people are super open-minded. It seems like the community will make up their mind on things like this right away. What I am hearing from locals is that this was, they didn't get rain for literally almost 3 months or something since May. And it was so dry. It was really bad situation there. But again, there's going to be two camps of people on this, because the strange part is how it burned and the things that didn't. Now, I would say if this is completely natural, then this was literally a miracle. Just to show you, there's video of this. There is tons of evidence to show that everywhere was burned. We actually have pictures from a local of last night that we actually had a caller that called into our regular show and showed us how crazy this fire did. This was his neighbor who owned an actual auto shop type thing. You can see there's no walls, there's no nothing. It even blew out the window in this stove that was actually meant, it's not a regular stove, it's meant to I forget what the word is. Powder coat. So that thing's supposed to be able to take crazy temperatures, but the window blew out of that. So some people think that that's a little odd. And then let's see here. We have this picture. And this picture from his friend confirms what they said, that this is really nuts. This is the Catholic Church. And all of the lawn, everywhere around, 360 around it, there is utter destruction. Everything is absolutely destroyed. There is 1 or 2 buildings that may have a roof, but everything else was burned to the ground. When you get to this, you have this church that is in the middle of all of it, and somehow the grass is not even tinged. It is not burnt. It is not brown. It is green and lush in the middle of this crazy fire. There's a couple burnt trees right here, but the main, this whole property was somehow safe. Untouched is what some of the locals said. Now, it says the miraculously untouched by devastating Maui wildfires. Well, famous banyan tree that spans 2 acres is still standing. That banyan tree, though, too, that is really nuts. And I did not realize how big that tree is. You can see it from the satellite pictures. I don't know if you can see that. In this picture, you see it takes up, it's acres. I've never seen it. I would love to see it. I hope this thing recovers. I would love to see this in person. You can see there's huge boats down here, probably 20, 30, 40, 50 foot boats down here. It just dwarfs these things. This is where a person is like the size of one of the tiniest branches on this thing. So absolutely nuts that this thing survived, still standing. And then this church. Now, there's really, really, really crazy pictures of this. So this is the church. Look at this. You can see the very sign at the outskirt of it is a little tinged, but the actual church, it doesn't even have smoke damage. The grass is still green. All of the bushes around it. There's bushes and shrubbery all around it, and it somehow survived. I'm sorry. I think that's just absolutely wild. I think that's that has to be some sort of miracle if this wasn't, unless somebody had a button where they could choose the areas they wanted to do, like a laser cutter, only much bigger and in space and controlled by some 3-letter agency. Unless there was something like that, then this is like, I don't know what you say about this. And the Catholic Church right here was the only thing that wasn't burnt in a 360 area. I just think that's absolutely amazing. That's nuts. So the pictures from it are just crazy. If you can see, this is not before this was taken. There's power lines down across the ground here. There's branches and things falling down. I mean, and then there's that, I think that's the banyan tree. No, that doesn't look big enough. Or is that multiple trees? But yeah, just really crazy stuff. Yeah, that's the banyan tree. I think it must be multiple trees then. I've never been there, so I don't know. But I thought that was something positive, that anybody and a lot of people in Hawaii are really happy about the banyan tree still standing. I don't know if it will make a full recovery. I don't know how that works with trees. If they do get burnt very badly, will it survive? I don't know. Occam's Razor, what's going on? J-Rad, Sadra, Bible Talk 777. Again, there's multiple ways you could look at it. You could obviously think, maybe this is something else. And I am open-minded to either. I did want to, though, communicate what all of our longtime Foogle fam that are from Hawaii, what their thoughts were on this. But I was very suspicious about how things burnt, how hot they burnt, how so many steel structures were just melted to the ground. And if it was so windy and it was going by, you would think it would just burn up and then be done. But apparently there was tornadoes of fire. I mean, this was really something absolutely ridiculous. Dex, comments?
Well, I often think about, when people make burn pits where they're burning construction or especially large trees and stuff and debris, you always put these massive blowers in there to blow to get that heat up very, very high. So, going back to the notion of at that earlier video comment where he was talking about the tornadic-like experience and the reports that they were having 60 plus mile per hour winds from the hurricane that didn't hit them. Normally, they would have, if the hurricane had hit them, it would have rained on them and this wouldn't have been an issue. But having all of the wind, but none of the rain, which then anything that sparks, like a telephone line going down in heavy wind, which happened, not a telephone, a power line going down in heavy wind, which does happen all the time in heavy wind. It certainly lends a little bit of credibility to that story. But man, some of these images and like how certain things were not hit, other things were, boats all the way down the pier being burnt, things like that just certainly make you question, like, how did this really happen? It's definitely not something you normally see.
Yeah, there's lots of different angles on this. Rose Power says, no way, that's natural. No miracle there. Look at the place. Christine Potato Flesh. Let's see here. Somebody else said about that picture. That was just underneath the one I was showing you guys. But there was that picture on Twitter of that thing coming from the sky. Somebody said that was a SpaceX launch from 2018. You know what I do absolutely believe? I think when there's an opportunity, there's folks, especially if there's folks that are trying to break through on social media at all, they will do things like that to try to break through, and they'll use something old. I remember when there was a legit thing that happened on YouTube, and it was where, and I say it's legit because I have many people that said they saw this thing, and I believe them. There was basically, they said they saw a video of this military member saying that something was going to hit the moon, and that's why a lot of this stuff was going on. He was wearing full military fatigues, and basically said that there was a danger to the moon, and in the next couple of years something bad would happen to the moon. Well, we talked about this. I ended up and YouTube went down. All of YouTube went down, and this was the first time. Now it's gone down a couple times, and there was an event after that in New Zealand, that horrible event. There was only a couple times where globally YouTube went down. And when it came back up again, everybody said that there was a video of this military guy that was live streaming from some sort of basement or some sort of lower bunker looking thing, and was saying that something was going to hit the moon. Well, then what happened is apparently there was banging on the door. They come in and grab the guy, and then it goes black. They said that it was hundreds of thousands of viewers before it got cut. People were spreading it word of mouth, and it was like this stream out of nowhere just got all of this traction. This is what it said. And when that happened, they pulled the guy out, and he said that, that something's going to happen to the moon. They pulled that guy out. The YouTube came back on. Myself and others talked about it, and everybody's telling us like, hey, there was this video. This is crazy, crazy, crazy. And they say, hey, you got to see it, blah, blah, blah. And then people used that and twisted it. Drama Alert talked about it. Huge channels. I think Secure Team, all these different people, Third Phase Moon. And I'm talking about big channels, 10 million subscribers, channels that aren't even into this kind of stuff talked about it. And it slowly was like the game of telephone. It was like one thing supposedly happened, and I was there seconds after and heard all of the what I think is the real stuff happen. Then somebody took an old video of the moon getting hit, and they posted that on social media. And I think it was even CGI or something, or it was an actual asteroid hitting it, whatever. And they said, this is what they're talking about. But the guy was talking about the moon getting hit in like 2025. And that said that if the moon gets destroyed, we get destroyed. It's the end of its end game. And what that turned into is, the moon just got hit. And then they put this fake video up. And then everybody starts talking about that. Drama Alert covers it. Everybody says YouTube went down because of this moon video. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was pretty crazy. And people basically used that as an opportunity to break through and to get views, get whatever else. But it really screwed up because that original story is absolutely wild. And if it was at all true, and that's what put me on a whole different path, because after that happened, I was thinking, man, something's really up in space. If you guys know, I talked about it for a year about, sunspot, observatory, all these weird things happening. And but it's just the same thing like with this, is people can use this kind of stuff and do it. And I'm not saying that anybody we know, because I don't even know if that's the same picture that others like Dutch may have shown something that may have been legit. I don't know. But what I do know is that there's going to be a lot of fake stuff surrounding this, and there's going to be a lot of real stuff, and we have to kind of decipher through it. Even in our community, there's a bunch of BS that goes around. And we just kind of have to be adults and realize that, we have to take everything with a grain of salt. As far as that moon thing, if you have interest in that, there's old videos that go back to that. If you look up YouTube down like moon, you'll find all of the Drama Alert videos, all these crazy videos. But it makes you wonder, right? With all of these kind of things, you have to really put on your thinking cap and really kind of be your own judge for it. Feel free to talk to some of the Foogle fam members there, get their opinion. I'm not there, so I don't know. But I will say this. I believe there's technology out there that can do some really horrible stuff, and I believe our adversaries have that technology. Just so happens the same time, China ended up having a historic flooding, absolutely wild flooding, 3.3 feet in like a week or something, or in a day. Something that they would have, in a year. So, who knows? Could be a tit for tat, whatever else, but we will never know the true truth. Before we go, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. EMP Shield is a great device if you do want to protect yourself from either EMP strikes or from a Carrington level event from the sun. Something like this, of course, is easy to put into your cars, trucks, vehicles, ATVs, motorcycles, boats. You can even add it to your gas generators, or even to your home or your solar system in the situation of the Flex 1500. It will protect and ground the signal from an EMP or a CME related Carrington level event in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. That way you can get home or get out to bug out. marfooglenews.com/EMP. It's very easy. 3 wires wired into your car, red to red, black to black, green to ground, and you're good. Really, it takes less than 10 minutes and you are set. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF and you get $50 off per device, and you'll be helping support our channel. We are independent. We're completely on our own. We don't have a multi-channel network, and we depend on our viewers to share us out. So make sure, if you, again, the best way to help us, share us out and bring in some new people. All right, Dex, any last words?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, the best thing you can do right now, pray for everybody that's in Maui that's affected by this, and hope that they can find everybody that's missing. I know that number is really large, about 1,000 is what they keep reporting. So if they can get that number down and they can find everybody, that would be great. But prayers would be needed, as well as any other assistance you can work through with your charities that are there, like the church that survived. That's one of the first things they were able to do, is start up their charity mission so they can help everyone. So.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going on with the actual toll, but maybe it will catch up to what locals are saying. Locals are saying over 1,000 have perished, at least 1,000 are missing, is what locals are saying. So why would they underdo it? I don't know. I mean, obviously they're not underdoing the damage and the destruction that it's done. It really has done just unbelievable amounts of destruction. So prayers for Maui, and of course, make sure to go check out whatever charity you trust that can help them. All right, you guys. Thank you, everybody in chat. And thank you, April Sky, Linda, Michael Gronemeyer for subscribing. Neil Nelson, KT Cleans a lot. Thank you so much. Yes, it is a very sad thing to see happen. And then thank you, Snap Out of It, Atlanta Page, James McGowan says, I said something about the temps. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Linda Hope, and then Mirror 504, thank you. Much love all. You guys have a wonderful night. We will see you over on our main channel, Marfoogle TV. Make sure to go over and subscribe to that channel too. We're going to have, again, a full show talking about all of the current events, including Moscow, Russia, all of the different stuff going on with Taiwan, China, all of that over on our main show at Marfoogle TV. The link is over on our website. Very easy to find. If you actually go to marfooglenews.com in just a few minutes, it will be updated with the new thumb and the new show. You can just go here, click whatever is in the top left here in a minute, and it will bring you to our show. Have a great night. Thank you, Dex.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And thank you, mods. Make sure to drop an M in the chat for the wonderful mods keeping it down. And you can also see them over on marfooglenews.com/friends.
Already know this ain't no Maui miracle. Hey, now here we go. I needed more water than a buffalo. We already know this ain't no Maui miracle. Hey, now here we go. I needed more water than a buffalo. We already know this ain't no Maui miracle.